What's up everyone? Welcome back to WRX Garage. This video is a part of our ongoing series to get this car race ready. It's not super exciting. We're going to be doing a full trans fluid and front differential at the same time, and then also the rear differential fluid. Now a lot of people say, well, the Subaru manual says to do this every 30,000 miles or so. I think it's a lot better and safer to do this once per year, especially if you guys are going to be driving aggressively. I'm going to be going through the full steps of the process, try to make this as easy as possible for you guys to learn how to do it yourself, because if you do it yourself, you're going to save a ton of money rather than going to the dealership. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about is this piece of paper right here. So this piece of paper is a full instructional guide that I personally have created that lists every single tool that you're going to need, every torque spec, everything that you need to do a full transmission and rear differential fluid change on your car. Now this document right here, I'm going to be reading off of it throughout the video. If you guys want access to this document, make sure you click the link in the description to go to our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. There's going to be this guide as well as many other Subaru specific guides on there. So if you guys want to do your own maintenance without having to worry about, going on a forum and learning how to do that, if you don't have internet access, you don't want to be crawling around under your car watching a YouTube video trying to figure something out, and you want clear-cut instructions, this is how you're going to get it. So we wanted to do a Patreon for a really long time, and we didn't want to make one blindly without, offering something back, something legitimate and substantial back to our viewers. So this is what we've decided, and we think that giving you guys access to these really detailed documents is going to be, beneficial for you guys and for us as well. And we really appreciate your support. So that's all I'm going to talk about with the Patreon. Let's get into the actual work. So right down here, I have pretty much everything you guys probably saw from the thumbnail. Everything you're going to need. So this is the collection bucket, the drain bucket that we're going to be using to collect all of our fluid. We have a 1/2-inch breaker bar with our T70 Torx for the front differential. And then we have, for the actual fluid we're going to be using for the front and rear, we are using the Motul 75W90. And then we had a comment about how W doesn't actually stand for weight, it stands for winter. I don't know. Wind 75 weight, whatever. 75W90. And this is going to be going into both the transmission and the rear differential. So let's get the car lifted in the front. We're going to start in the front and then move our way to the rear once we get that finished. Just so you guys know, I did drive the car a little bit, got it up to full temperature before I parked it here for the work. Whenever you're doing an oil change or transmission fluid, you don't want it boiling hot, but you want it warm enough to flow well, so you're not sitting there for half an hour waiting for the little drips to come out because it's too cold. So yeah, let's get the car lifted and let's get started. So one other thing I wanted to show you guys before I lift the car is where the actual drain plug or the dipstick is for the front transmission. If you have a top mount intercooler, you're going to be able to maybe slide the funnel right down in this gap on the left side. I don't have one because I have the front mount, so it's going to be a little easier. But essentially, of course my AOS is in the way, but it is right here. This is the dipstick. So this is where we're going to be filling it. Once I get the car lifted up, I'm going to pull this out so that there's not any pressure. There's more airflow going down in from the top when we drain it. So that's where it is. It's on the passenger side, next to your pitch stop. That's a good place to see it, but it's like basically directly above your axle where it goes into the transmission right there. That's the green thing. So I have pulled the dipstick. It is right here This is what you guys are looking for, by the way. It looks like that. And I use one of these flexible funnels that has a long tube attached, and it's already run down in there. Just make things easier for myself. So let's go under the car real quick. Just for reference, guys, this is your transmission right here. It goes all the way back, and then you have the axles coming out of it right there. And your, just to give you guys reference here, your oil pan is right in front of it, which is right here. It's right up there. So if you just follow the car back, transmission back to where you have these axles coming in, you can find the drain plug. And that's this right here. So you'll notice that it is a star pattern or a Torx bit. This is a T70. You want to make sure that you are very careful with this because we do not want to strip these threads. So I really suggest having a breaker bar handy, as well as a torque wrench to put in the correct torque settings after you're done. So let me get you guys set up on a little tripod here, and we'll get started. So hopefully you guys can see that on the GoPro, but I have my oil drain pan here already set up, and I got my breaker bar, and the T70 sits right in there. So we're just going to be very careful here. Make sure that it cracks open. Nicely. All right. So I have my impact driver on the lowest setting possible, guys. Lowest setting didn't do it, so let's go up one. That didn't do it either. Let's go up one. Uh-oh. There we go. Perfect. So we have it half threaded here. Let's just line up our drain pan once more, and then we're just gonna very carefully without getting it all over ourselves. Hey, that's actually not too bad. And now we just let it drain. I really suggest wearing gloves for this, guys. For obvious reasons, you really don't want this splashing everywhere. I have cardboard everywhere underneath the drain pan here, and one glove is already soaked. So I'm gonna replace this one, and let's just let this drain. So here is the drain plug. It does have a little gasket crush washer that is permanently fixed on there, which is this piece right here. Well, it's not permanently fixed, but it's reusable. You don't have to replace that one like a oil one does. You'll notice that there actually is a magnet on the stock transmission plug, which is awesome. I wiped off a couple times some of the metal that was in there, collected on the magnet right there and there. This is a normal amount, really small fine particles. It's basically just fluid mixed with metal, very, very small metal particles. If you see large chunks in here, you're gonna have to do a bit more of a deep dive to make sure that your transmission is okay. But really, really small fine particles is completely fine. So I'm gonna hit this with some brake clean, get this as clean as I can, and then wait for the rest of the fluid to drain out. So while we wait, let's start talking about what we're gonna be doing for filling the front transmission, which doubles as the front differential as well. It's the same capacity, same cavity in the car. So it's all the same thing. We're doing 3.3 liters. So each of these bottles is 1 liter. You can get this on Amazon. I'll put the link for the entire kit of 5 in the description. Pretty affordable, which is awesome. So we're gonna be doing 3 and then basically a third of this. So 0.3 liters. On the sides of the Motul bottles, you'll notice that there is a little scale to show you how much is in there. So we're going to be going down until we see 700 milliliters on the left there. So we're filling 300 from the top. Yep, pretty simple. And then we'll just be checking it with the dipstick. Overall, if your transmission fluid is warm, you'll see that it is still kind of draining a tiny bit. I'm gonna leave this for about 10, maybe 15 minutes just to get as much of that fluid out of there. After inspecting the fluid, it really doesn't look too bad. It's a little dark, but definitely not like black or dark brown. So looks good. And I'll get back to you guys once that draining is finished. So we are ready to go. There's just tiny dribbles coming out now, guys. So I'm just gonna try my best to get this back in without making too much of a mess. But we are pretty much good to go. So we're threading it back on by hand. And then once it's finger tight, that should seal any of those drips. And then we are, as always, gonna make sure we clean up this surface as much as we can. And when you're ready, now we're just gonna torque this down. So the torque spec for this is 51.6 foot-pounds. Please do not, and I repeat, do not over tighten this. So I have my torque wrench already set using that T70 bit again. And one more for good measure. All right, and she's good to go. So let's go back up top and refill it. All right, so we are back up top, guys. I got my 4 liters ready. We're gonna be putting in 3.3 through this funnel, and let me just double check to make sure that that funnel's actually down into the port correctly. It is. All right, so let's start filling. So I've done 3. So now we're just gonna be doing the 300 and waiting until we get down to the 700 mark. 300 milliliters. Here we go. So when I hold this level, you'll see we are right at 700. So that's 300 in, that's 0.3 liters. So we're gonna wait for that to drain, and then just gonna put the dipstick back in and we're all set. And just so you guys can see this, here's the dipstick I just checked, and we are basically right at the full mark, which is exactly what you want. So I'm gonna put this dipstick back in, drop the car down, and lift the rear so we can get access to the rear differential, and then we can start that process. So here we are at the rear of the car, guys. Easiest way to lift the rear of your car, if it's not too low, is to actually jack the back of the car up all at once from the rear differential. And we're going to be taking the jack out of the way anyways once we get the 2 jack stands in on either side on the pinch weld, so it's not going to be in the way. So in the rear, for the rear differential, it is at a weird angle. So essentially, it's harder, you can't really use a funnel. So I'm using this attachment here like this. It has a couple different size tops that you can attach and adapt to different size bottles. I'm gonna put the link to this squeegee pump, etc. in the description, but essentially, you can pump this and it comes out, even if it's above it. So we're gonna be using this little piece to go into the top of the rear differential to pump fluid in that way. So again, the part for this number will be, or the link for this part will be down in the description. So here's the rear differential. It looks a little wet because I did hit both of those ports with PB Blaster just to get them a little loose. What you're gonna be doing is opening up the top one first. These are standard 1/2 inch fittings. So if you use like a breaker bar, this will go right in. Or I'm sorry, like an extension, or you could put your breaker bar socket head 1/2 inch right on top of there. So the process here is we're cracking the top one open and then the bottom one. So same thing as the front to relieve air pressure so everything flows out well. We're doing the top and then the bottom. There we go. And when you guys are using, you know, the impact driver on these, you just want to make sure after you're done that you're not crossing threads, but all these threads look fine to me. So cool, that's a good thing. The same thing, just very easily, slowly. Gonna make sure we pull this out. There we go. And we do have another metal or a magnet on the bottom of the plug here, so metal shavings, the amount doesn't look absurd. There's not really any big chunks, which is good. So we're just gonna let this drain, and I'm gonna use this time to clean up these as much as I can because they are crusty. So I'm gonna hit these with a wire brush, hit them with some brake clean, get them as cleaned up as possible. So we're just gonna clean this up, again, the best that we can. We do wanna go in, make sure the threads on the inside are very clean as well. Get all that schmoo out of there. Right, and we're gonna be putting the bottom plug in, which has the magnet on the bottom. We're gonna be putting the bottom plug in. And we don't have to torque this down yet. We can torque it down as long as it's, you know, pretty tight in there. I'm just gonna hit this with the ratchet wrench real quick. Make sure it's pretty snug. Good. And now we're gonna be using that special tool with the pump. Like taking that and going into the top here. Oh, that's nice. The little plastic things hold it in place. And this is going to be 0.8 liters. So we're gonna be going until the bottle reads 200. Oh, this thing is very handy. I'm gonna be pumping for a little bit, but it's worth it for making sure we're doing the right amount here and not spilling it. So you guys can see that there is some coming out the top, and that means that we are basically as full as we can be. So it's 800 milliliters or as much as you can possibly get in there before it starts spilling out the top. So let's take our filler out, put that on a rag, move that out of the way, and then put our top plug back in. Clean all the spilled fluid off. Get a little brake clean on there. All right, and both of these are getting torqued to 36 foot-pounds. And again, we just want to make sure we're not over torquing these. Listen for that click right there. All right, and that's done. One last little cleanup. Make sure we get absolutely everything off of there. And then, let me get my paint pen. I just like having the peace of mind knowing that they're not spinning. And guys, that's it. Let me finish up the rest of the car, clean everything up, and then give you some final thoughts. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you guys got a pretty good overview of the step-by-step process on how to do your transmission fluid and rear differential fluid, all the tips and tricks, the right order to do things. I really hope that some of you who are a little too scared to do some of this kind of work yourself, like this and oil changes, brake pad changes, the standard maintenance stuff, I want you guys to feel comfortable saving money and doing these things yourself. Even if you have warranty, there's still some costs associated with taking it to the dealership. So that's the goal. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, and I'm really grateful for all of you guys who are watching. If you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button. Couple quick things. The T70 socket that you'll need for the transmission, it is not a standard size in a lot of Torx bit sets. So make sure, if you have a Torx bit set, to make sure you have a T70, and if not, go and pick one up. They sell these by themselves at like auto parts stores. And then also, the full instruction guide for this entire maintenance process, it is on our Patreon. You get free access to our entire library of documents. We have this, we got brake pad changes, we got rotor changes, we have an entire guide on fitment, we're gonna do an entire guide on suspension mods, we're gonna do an entire guide on power mods, and then pretty much every kind of maintenance you could do on this car, under the sun. We're gonna be doing a guide, step-by-step guide just like this, that you can print out at home. So if you guys want to, go check out the Patreon that we have down in the description. If not, maybe you don't want us to do that, just want to support us in other ways, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you very, very soon. Peace.